Hello everyone! Welcome back to Jesse Hecht Creative. We're doing something different this time. I've shown my face earlier. I'm wearing this Courage the Cowardly Dog shirt. Guess I'm going to be reviewing. Yeah, that's right, Courage the Cowardly Dog. So, this show is a show that I've loved for, I think, like, over 2 decades now. It's still one of my favorite cartoons of all time. It has so many good life lessons, so many good scares, and a lot of heart to it, and a lot of sadness too. With amazing animation, great writing and directing, and just music is phenomenal. Everything about the show is just perfect, in every single way. This is a show called Courage the Cowardly Dog, made by a man named John R. Dilworth, who has done a lot of different cartoons over the years, and I just find Dilworth's work fascinating and incredibly unique when it comes to the animation space, and he's one of the many people who got me into animation. I have really latched on to his and other people's works. A lot of the heart and soul of what I write come from this show right here. Without further ado, let's get ready to watch John R. Dilworth's masterpiece, his pilot short from Hanna-Barbera and Cartoon Network, The Chicken from Outer Space. So going over the main titles, we have all these different studios creating this show: Cartoon Network, Hanna-Barbera, Stretch, and it's in this really red, imposing font. And the first thing you hear, though, is the music just sort of assaulting you. Boom, 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 boom. Really getting in your face about it. And that's done by Steven Saltzman, who is now Stephen A. Saltzman, who did Spirit, Selling the Cimarron, The Revenant, Sonic the Hedgehog, 2020, and a bunch of other movies. We next get to Dilworth's name, which is all in green and spiky, thorny, which adds a little bit of sort of comedy quirkiness to this. And that man is really quirky, by the way. He's a really, odd fellow in a good way. He's just fascinating how he made this show. This is his brainchild, so imagine that kind of mind, But I just find it to be really cool, this nice juxtaposition between the red and the green. It's really like Christmas. And then after that, we get Courage, doing a little wave, and he's all sort of just like sad looking, and he looks over at one moment, which kind of makes you think, like, either am I done yet, or what's going on over there? And the music kind of crescendos, but that moment there also looks like a little, like, Warner Brothers title. Oh, this character in this show right over here. So that's kind of like a little Warner Brothers sort of hat tip in a way, where they also have like Daffy Duck in, or Porky Pig in this cartoon, that kind of thing. So last but not least, we have the title itself. We have those red dots, we have the white going over there with a little bit of green, sort of alien kind of feel, but those red dots will be important later on. It's all over a big starry backdrop, like space is there, and it's right there coming for you. So we're going to see that later on in the episode. So one of the first shots in this is the Bag Farmhouse, which we don't really see from this angle in the show, but it is really iconic how you really can just see everything about it in this one shot. You see the windows in the front, the windows on the side, little smokestack that pops out of the back, and then the windmill, which is iconic and shows up like way later on in the show as an actual important plot point. And for reasons later on, I'll actually just, point things out about the windmill, and that will be clear in like season 4 or something. The beautiful sky, the beautiful ground, and just how the sky goes from like a pink to yellow, and it's not even like sunset, or it could be like really early in the morning or something. Margaret Fry did the background colors for this, and a lot of series titles as well for this show. As we go on with the show, a lot of the titles were done by her, and they're really masterfully done. Having a really good hook with the titles is really special, and Margaret Fry does a really great job at that. But the backgrounds you'll see here are just really masterfully done, with a lot of detail that in other shows right now would be unnecessary. But back then, they apparently had $1 jillion of budget to do whatever they wanted to make the show as detailed as possible. And the detail is the proof in the pudding for this show, and I really love the amount of detail they put into this. So here's our first shot of Courage. He's very long. He's a very long dog in this incarnation, and he just has really round, small eyes. His nose is basically the same, and you see Muriel too, who has really weird paw kind of hands. But we have the boots, the apron. Everything kind of is ironed out here and sort of just simplified in this one little shot. There's no real background. It just focused on Courage and Muriel. That little peaceful, contentful moment that we're going to keep seeing throughout the series. This little moment before all chaos breaks loose in the show. And it could last anywhere from like what, 30 seconds to half an episode, or maybe even less. But yeah, just this little moment, it just harkens back to the entire series as a whole, coming back to this moment just that love between Courage and Muriel. So here we get a wider shot of the farmhouse kitchen area. There's a little pipe in the corner, and the window is sort of like slanted a little bit. We have a picture of humans in the back, probably someone's wife or someone who worked on the show, or what have you. We have the table, which I could pick out from any show, being from Courage the Cowardly Dog. That kind of weird, skinny, spindly, kind of like little table legs. The teapot, the flower vase, the cup, everything just looks so Dilworth and very iconic. The wallpaper is some kind of weird, just, I don't know what it is. Some kind of weird, like, flower formation, I would guess. But it's very hard to tell. The floorboards are what really, make me love the show, because you could just put plain, flat floorboards there. But no, this show makes them all creaky and weird and misshapen and sometimes, like, not fitting right. And it just really matches the oldness of the farmhouse. Now, Muriel's face here is really round and weird, and her body is smaller, whereas her head is like really small, and her body is big and kind of chunky. But she has these little stick legs and these giant boots, which I love. Now, Eustace is a little bit fatter in this incarnation. His chin isn't as pronounced, his face is way longer, but you still have that sort of iconic little growl. The hat's there, the overalls are there. He's just a little more squat. Everyone's a little more either... Muriel's longer, Eustace is shorter, and they just switched that, and it kind of works way better for the show as it goes on. And we also notice we have UFO sighting on the newspaper, and that's pretty nice little tidbit as to what we'll be seeing in a little bit. So the first couple shots of the show show the dynamic. We have Courage on Muriel's lap, and then he gets scared by a mouse. He freaks out, jumps on Eustace. Eustace scares him. He runs outside, and that's basically the dynamic of the show in the beginning. There's this nice calm period, then some kind of scare, and it escalates from there. So every episode has that kind of pattern. And that's usually how stories work, but here it's done within 11 minutes. It's usually done really well. The pacing is always like top-notch. So after Courage gets a tiny bit of respite from that scare, we see the chicken come out of his flying saucer, which appears out of nowhere. It comes out from the side, doesn't even come down from the top of the screen, so it just appears into frame for no reason, with no fanfare or anything. It just shows up. And the chicken comes out with these like flashing lights inside the ship, which is pretty cool. I didn't really notice that before. But the chicken really looks a lot like Feathers McGraw from Wallace and Gromit's, Wrong Trousers short. And I believe the close shave Wallace and Gromit short went up against the Chicken from Outer Space in the Oscars. Nick Park, Wallace and Gromit won instead of Dilworth's cartoon here. But I find it interesting that they both had similar looking antagonists for shorts and love them both. I think Nick and John both got me in animation, so thank you both. Another thing carried over to the show was Courage's transformations. Here he transformed into the saucer itself, and then a robot, and then an even more fire-breathy robot. And that's all well and good. I'm glad we have those three at least. A lot of this is just, introductory stuff, which is really great. We have a second scare with the mask, which is even funnier. And Muriel hits him with the rolling pin, which is a common thing in the show, too. So all this is just set up for what we're going to see in the show. This is all just beats right here. This flat expanse. We have the windmill still turning over there, and that's important later. We also have the truck and the chicken coop and a fence for some reason that you rarely see in the show, along with the water spigot that's important later on. I'm just really happy they ironed everything out and used everything in the show instead of discarding a bunch of things. I'm happy about that. Two things about this scene. Number one, the chicken strangling the other chickens is a little too dark for me, I would think. This show doesn't really do that. But then again, a couple villains strangled Courage here and there, so it's kind of warranted for this show. And second, Muriel should have trusted Courage and not eat the eggs. Your protective dog versus the livestock you have. And there could be some eggs in the fridge. There's a fridge there, But I just find it really weird that Muriel wouldn't trust Courage with those eggs. It's just kind of strange to me how that's the inciting incident for then Courage getting locked in. Hello everyone, and thank you so much for watching so far. Make sure to click like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment. You can also click the bell icon for more creativity. Now let's get back to it. So the tension mounts with Eustace being served the eggs, Courage finally breaking out of the chicken coop with the help of Dill-brand dynamite and a Dill-brand jackhammer. And that's kind of funny because Dilworth, who made the show, the Dill-brand stuff shows up a lot in this show. I'm not kidding. And also those weird picture frames with regular people in it are just really surreal and kind of take me out of it, which is actually pretty funny. But what I notice is that Courage can get inside easily, but he, doesn't think of going through the front door. which he's right next to, which is just so weird to see that happen. It's kind of an oversight, I would think. Something I gotta mention is how Eustace and Muriel both eat. That chewing animation, and also you see Eustace's gums. He only has gums in the series, which is really weird when he eats something like a burger later on. But Muriel just, gonna have my stuff, have my little tea, and it's really cute how she does that, which is a really nice little character touch that, you don't really see all that much, but they put effort into their characters here. Something I noticed just now while editing is this frame of characters in the cabinet that are just like the ones Dilworth made in previous animations, such as Raisin from Smart Talk with Raisin. We also have the Dirty Birdie and Verena. I'm not sure who that blue character is with the red nose, but it's probably another cameo. And you can barely see him on the bottom, but there's Ned from Noodles and Ned. He shows up a lot in the show proper as a character called Dilly that is just there on posters and stuff. But I just like the character design a lot with that huge smile. But yeah, I barely noticed him down there. I had to really zoom in on this picture to actually catch him there. I just find it awesome that these characters are just sort of stuffed away in a little cabinet that maybe they'll come out to play sometime soon, maybe not, but it's just nice for him to give a little hat tip to his previous creations that led him to this. So we have this nice back and forth. Once again, we have Eustace transforming into a chicken, which is kind of horrifying. And we also have Courage fighting off the chicken from outer space, which is kind of funny. And it's a nice juxtaposition where we have this scary moment and a funny moment, which the show really does well. While it's rare to see actual fighting in this show, we do see some games here. We see fencing, we see an arm wrestle, we see checkers, and it's all really hilarious how they just play little games and they're just fighting, and instead of like actual brawling, you get these weird kind of like kids games, like the little hand thing where you smack the hand, and it's just so dumb. It's kind of like an RPG where characters take turns fighting, and this could be a little, riff on that if RPGs were at least, popular. I would think about maybe the late 90s, probably. But just Eustace turning into a chicken is still horrifying. That shot where he takes his pants off and starts laughing, ugh, creepy. Also, Muriel is kind of freaking out, backing up into a corner. She's on the phone trying to call the cops, and the line's cut. Of course, the line's cut for some reason. Why would the chicken know they use phones? I don't know. It just adds more to the tension that she can't get out. But that shot where Eustace just reveals his face is just so horrifying. And then we have the chicken and Courage doing a hold my breath test. That's pretty funny. And I love how the suitcase says Mars on it, and that's really great. I love that. Eustace keeps advancing closer and closer, which is also a really good shot with the angles sort of like being skewed in a way. And then we have my favorite shot of the entire thing. The chicken on the ground. He's out on his luck. He lost all the games. And he pulls out the ray gun. And that face he makes, that really like, I'm just done. That kind of face just sells it for me. That's my favorite shot in the entire show, probably. Or at least this episode, I'll probably point out my favorite shots per episode. But that's an amazing one. So he fires, and we get a missed opportunity. Instead of drink silly pop for, John O'Doworth, we could have drink dilly pop, which would be even, I think, a little more apropos for that. And that changes, and then the airplane changes, and then the volcano turns into Moai heads, and then it kills the chicken, or at least turns him into a nice roast dinner. Mwah. And that we'll see later on. That's actually something that, what little story this show has, that's part of it. So Eustace is about to attack Muriel and do something. I really wish I could see the aftermath of a character just, I'm gonna get you. What happens when they get you? Do you get eaten? Do you get transformed to a chicken? Do they live as chickens from now on? But Courage puts a stop to all that and fries Eustace and vaporizes him, and that's basically the formula for the show, where it comes down to Courage and Muriel going back to a nice rocking chair moment. And Muriel doesn't even care that her husband just died in front of her eyes. She just goes back to, cuddling with Courage on the rocking chair. I guess that's her safe place or something. It kind of weirds me out. He doesn't really care. But Courage's model in this shot is way better than it was in the first shot of the entire episode. I mean, I know they probably couldn't go back and fix it, but yeah, that's kind of weird to me how it basically improved over time as the episode was going on. Then the mouse comes back, eats some of the stuff, turns into a weird, scary, spooky alien mouse, and Courage screams, ending out the show, but not before grabbing the iris out, saying the iconic line,
This shouldn't happen to a dog.
This shouldn't happen to a dog. In that voice that he never had before. That voice belonging to Howard Hoffman, who also played Eustace, Muriel, the chicken, the mouse, Courage, everyone in the short. Did a really great job with it, especially Muriel's screams. They were really good. And the chicken laughs were great. He even reprised his role in a video game as the chicken in 2009, so that's pretty cool. It's just so clever and so well done. And even it closes on his nose in a cute little moment, which really sells how the show can be both horrific and humorous at the same time, which is really a great compliment. That this show can, excite you, thrill you, make you laugh, make you cry. It just works out really well in that aspect. And then we get this sort of like morose kind of closing credits. When I initially watched this years ago, back in like the 90s, it was in front of the What a Cartoon bumper, where it was this really like loud guitar and very like really in your face kind of stuff. And it was like not in your face scary, but in your face annoying.
What? Tool.
It was like, come on, just slow down there. Just slow down, please. But I really love this little cartoon that spawned this beautiful series, and we'll see more of it as we continue on with Jesse Hecht Creative. So stay tuned, take care, and I'll see you all next time with Courage the Cowardly Dog episodes. 1995 especially, because I thought this was like 96 or 7. This is actually pretty, I was really young back then. So, yeah, that's just really cool to see how old this cartoon is, but how well it's aged. Because I think this kind of silent comedy lives forever. Peace! Thank you so much for watching Jesse Hecht Creative. Feel free to click like, subscribe, share, or leave a comment. You can also visit us at jessehechtcreative.com, where you'll find more reviews like this one. Thanks again for watching and keep being creative. Stay tuned!